Welcome to the MMA Preview Show. I'm Adam Catterall. It is a pleasure to be in your company. Every single month, I'm going to be sat in this chair previewing what is coming up in the world of MMA. As well as that, I'm going to be speaking to some of the fighters that are going to be in action over that particular month that I'm speaking about. So we're getting stuck into January right now. We're going to be previewing UFC 311. We're going to get stuck into that Dubai card that the PFL are bringing us on January 25th. And I'm going to slightly cheat because I know this is not January, but I have to talk about what's coming up in Saudi Arabia on February the 1st, where the UFC rock up in Riyadh. On the show today, the UFC Bantamweight champion Merab Dvalishvili, who's in action at UFC 311, defending his crown against Umar Nurmagomedov. One of the fights to look out for over this next 2-3 weeks is Jiri Prochazka against Jamahal Hill, the former light heavyweight kings. Well, Jiri Prochazka is going to be on the program. Give it about 20 minutes. He will be here. He's currently in transit from Las Vegas to LA, getting ready for UFC 311. In Dubai on the 25th of January, it is, of course, Umar Nurmagomedov in action against Paul Hughes, a fight that we're all excited for. So I'm going to be speaking to Dan Hardy, the head of talent when it comes to European PFL. He's going to be on the show, giving us a preview of that fight. And then I think it's only fair that we speak to somebody that is connected to the Saudi Arabian card at the end of the month, start of February. Michael Venom Page is also going to be here because he's going to be taking on Shara Bullet in an absolute ding-dong back and forth. Now, before you chirp up, I know that I'm slightly late to the party this month. I know that the UFC already have returned. January 11th, they went to the Apex. The names didn't necessarily jump off the page, did they, on that particular card? But there was a few 50-50 matchups that got the hardcore fans excited. And for those that actually paid attention to the first UFC MMA card of the year, I think you got a bit of bang for your buck because it was sensational. It might actually be the greatest UFC card that has ever taken place inside the Apex. 14 fights, 7 knockouts, 2 submissions. Oh my days, contenders rising here, there and everywhere. And we do have a knockout of the year contender already. I know I've gone early, but we really do. In the main event, Mackenzie Dern got the job done. 3rd round submission over Amanda Ribas. Yes, it was a rematch. Ribas won the first one, but Mackenzie Dern has avenged that loss and now sets herself up for a fantastic 2025. Who will it be next? Personally, I will go in the direction of maybe avenging another loss, a Yan Xiaonan or a Jessica Andrade. Time will tell, but a great way to start 2025 for Mackenzie Dern. Santiago Ponzinibbio got the job done in the co-main event, but it's Cesar Almeida, the man that I want to speak about, because he took on Abdul Razak Al Hassan. And for those that have seen the fight, you'll know exactly what I'm going to say. Al Hassan, he's putting it on him. The whole kitchen sink is coming out. The full toolbox is going. And you think that at some point, Almeida is going to go over. But he stays cool. He stays calm. He stays collected. And he delivers a sensational viral knockout. Just as Al Hassan's in the ascendancy, he walks onto a killer left hook from Cesar Almeida, and it genuinely is a contender already for knockout of the year. At the end of the month, I'm going to give you a review of everything that goes on in January. I guarantee I will still be speaking about that moment. If you haven't seen the action from the Apex on January the 11th, I thoroughly encourage you to go and check it out because there's some sensational knockouts on there. A fantastic way to kick off 2025. Now, what is still to come in this month? I'm going to give you my 5 fights in order that you must not miss. I'm going to rank them from 5 through to 1. The 5 fights that you must not miss over the next few weeks are these. Coming in at number 5, the Bantamweight Championship fight at UFC 311. Merab Dvalishvili is taking on Umar Nurmagomedov. Now, Umar Nurmagomedov, undefeated through 18 fights, undefeated through 6 in the UFC, 3 finishes, 3 decisions. And his biggest win has come against Corey Sandhagen. A brilliant win. He was fantastic in that fight and he answered a lot of questions that a lot of pundits did have about him. Merab, been there, done it and got the t-shirt. Look at his last 4. All guys that have been at the very top of the tree, the likes of the Jose Aldos and the Henry Cejudos of this world. And of course, last time out in the Sphere. Wow, what an iconic venue that is. He took on Sean O'Malley and got the job done to become the king of the bantamweights. This is his first defense. He's got a bee in his bonnet. He's a little bit rattled with Umar. We're going to be speaking to him very, very shortly to get to the bottom of all of that. But that fight is absolutely must not miss. Now, let me speed you towards February 1st, because my fourth fight on my top 5 must not misses is the main event. Israel Adesanya taking on Nassourdine Imavov. Imavov has been brilliant of late. He has been putting together a body of work that has absolutely got him to the situation where he's now in with a shout of top 5 contendership and maybe next in line for a shot at a world title. He's got to go through the former champion who fights for the first time in 12 fights, is it? Without a title being on the line. Israel Adesanya's run in the UFC has been truly sensational. Came in, had a few little feelers, and then it was title fight after title fight after title fight after title fight. His level of activity has been truly exceptional. So it's no surprise whatsoever that at the back end of last year, there was a little bit of burnout. I think we saw a flat performance against Sean Strickland, where he lost his title. And then, of course, he came back for the grudge match with Dricus du Plessis. And he did well for certain parts of it, but Dricus du Plessis is just relentless. He's on a tear at the moment, and he managed to get the submission victory. So it's going to be interesting to see how Israel Adesanya bounces back in that fight. Stylistically, it's beautiful. If you like striking, this is the fight for you. Adesanya Imavov is number 4 on my top 5 list. Now then, in at number 3. Shara Bullet versus MVP. Wow. I was lucky enough to be in attendance of Shara Bullet's last performance against Petrosian. 2 elite kickboxers knocking 7 bells out of each other. It was back and forth. It was great. But Shara Bullet did rise from the pit. He delivered a double back fist knockout, something that we've never seen in the UFC before. And he really did become a star that night. And now, of course, he gets himself a sensational fight in a co-main event in Saudi Arabia on February 1st. Make sure you're checking this fight out because he's taking on Michael Venom Page, a welterweight, stepping up to middleweight because of the opportunity. Another elite kickboxer. I doubt there's going to be too much grappling in that fight. Those two are going to go at it, and it's going to deliver something very, very special. Don't take my word for it. Michael Venom Page is on the show a little bit later on. So stick around. You can hear from him. Now, what am I putting as my must not miss fight number 2? Well, this is only number 2 because it's scheduled for 3 rounds. Not that I think they're going to need all 3 rounds. Somebody is going to get knocked out just because of the style of the way that these two guys fight. It could have been number 1, but my number 1 is scheduled for a longer period of time. So I think you're going to get a little bit more action with my number 1 pick. My number 2 pick is Jiri Prochazka against Jamahal Hill. Both former champion in the light heavyweight division. Both have similar narratives with that title belt as well. Getting injured, having to renege it. Alex Pereira comes in, does the business. They come back, they fight Alex Pereira, and they both get knocked out by that guy. It's a fascinating fight. Jiri Prochazka has had 36 professional fights, I think it is. 30 wins, 26 knockouts. He's only ever been to the judges twice in his entire career. It's ridiculous. He's a finishing machine. And in the UFC, he's only had 6 fights. I know that sounds a lot less than you probably anticipated or expected, but he's 4-2. Remember, he had a year out with that shoulder injury. He's never been to the judges in the UFC, and I don't anticipate this fight going there either. Jamahal Hill got a chip on his shoulder, the boy. He'll be wanting to get himself straight back into a fight with Alex Pereira. Well, the only way he does that is by delivering against Jiri Prochazka. He hasn't won for 2 years since he beat Glover Teixeira to become the champion, remember? And of course, he's been out with that Achilles injury. He came back and then ended up becoming a meme. You remember that one? Yeah. Against Alex Pereira. It's a great fight. It's mouthwatering. The more I think about it right now, the more I think, wow, that fight is going to be absolutely sensational. Jiri Prochazka is on the show. We're going to be speaking to him in about 20, 25 minutes, so make sure you stick around for that. My number 1 pick, it's obvious, isn't it? It's Islam Makhachev versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Out of all the fights that are happening this month, and don't get me wrong, there's some belters. There's some top contenders coming through. There's some 50-50 matchups. But there's also fights in there that maybe have some high-profile names that I think are going to be one-sided. I'll give you a little bit more of an inkling as to how I'm thinking on some of those fights in a moment or two. But Islam Makhachev versus Umar Nurmagomedov is a rematch, and this time it's over 25 minutes. So we're getting a championship fight. 5 rounds of action. First time was Arman Tsarukyan's UFC debut. He's only 22 years of age. He jumped in quite late notice, taking on Islam Makhachev. Now, rightfully, no problem whatsoever, Islam Makhachev gets the unanimous decision. 30-27 on 2 cards, 29-28 on the other card. He was brilliant that night. But everything he asked, Arman Tsarukyan had an answer for it. He just didn't have a counter ask, if that makes sense. His defensive grappling, Arman Tsarukyan, was brilliant. But you don't score when you're defending, do you? You've got to score offensively. Now, since that fight, he's absolutely developed. He's come on leaps and bounds as a martial artist. Yes, he's had a bump in the road against Matthias Gamrot, but he's been great. And last time out, I was lucky enough to be there where he navigated the fight with Charles Oliveira and earned the right to be fighting for the title against Islam Makhachev. He's absolutely developed. He's ready to fight for the title. His only problem is that he's fighting a guy that's also got better since he last fought. Islam Makhachev, the champion now, has become even better since having that belt wrapped around his waist. When he beat Charles Oliveira, there was loads of questions going into that fight. Who's he really fought? Who's he really beat? Has he earned the opportunity? Is it a bit of Habib privilege getting this shot? Well, it's all irrelevant now because he has been brilliant. And he's definitely in that conversation for pound, #1 best fighter on the planet. Now, as I said, coming up on the show, Jiri Prochazka, we're going to be speaking to Dan Hardy, and we're also going to be speaking to Michael Venom Page. But without further ado, I think it's only fair that we get stuck into our first guest. He's ready to rock and roll, man. And he's got a smile on his face because he is the champ. Years of hard graft, years of hard work, all coming to fruition in the Sphere last year. An iconic venue for an iconic moment where Merab Dvalishvili beat Sean O'Malley to become the king of the bantamweights. He's sat in his car right now, but very kindly given up a bit of time to come and join us ahead of UFC 311 in the co-main event. Here he is, Merab. How are you, my man? Good to see you.
I'm good, ready to go. How are you?
You're always ready to go, mate. You don't need a fight to be booked to be ready to go. You're always ready to go.
Yeah, I am. But don't forget, we are fighting for UFC belt. This is very important, and this is extra motivation for me. And this is huge.
Absolutely huge, mate. Listen, before we get stuck into 311, I haven't spoken to you since you became champion and that night in the Sphere. What an unbelievable experience. Just one, to fight in there, but to win a world title in there, Merab. I mean, talk me through that. There's winning a world title in what we would class as a normal arena, but winning a world title in the Sphere is next level.
Yes, for sure. That was my dream to become UFC champion, and I always want to fight against Sean O'Malley, and to fight Sean O'Malley for UFC belt at the Sphere, that was extra something so sweet, so huge, big. Like when Dana White wrapped the belt on my wrist, I was happiest guy. But like next day I'm same guy, same motivated. I have same goals and same hungry and same problems and same everything.
What was it like as a fighting experience? Was it different when you were in the octagon? Were you aware of the huge screens and the changing of the atmosphere and all that?
Yes, it was a little different, of course, but I was. It was like some motivation, I know I was fighting in cool arena, and then I know the people has a good time, and I was enjoying everything too.
You definitely were, mate. You were dishing out kisses in the middle of the fight, my friend. You're very rare that we see you dishing out. You're only dishing out the punches and the grappling and the takedowns, but a little bit of affection for Sean throughout the course of the fight as well.
Yeah, I was very confident because I put a lot of work in, and I was very smart, and I see everything. I was controlling everything, and I was doing my fight against Sean O'Malley, and that's how I dominate the champion. He was supposed to knock me out, but he wasn't even close.
Well, you got the job done. We all saw the emotion afterwards. We know what it means to you. And what did it mean to you to be able to take that belt back to Georgia? I've seen the pictures, I've seen the videos. Mate, what a reception you received when you went back home.
Man, I will never forget that moment too, because whole country and whole city was waiting for me in airport, and everybody, even when we was driving in the street, and everybody, they saw I was driving, everybody stopped and peeping and waving hands, and they give me heroes welcome in my country, and um, that was really really happy for me, and it's different. You cannot feel anywhere else to be champion like how you feel in your home, because uh, I wasn't feeling to even when then I would wrap the belt. Yeah, I was happy, but after, but when I go Georgia again, like I feel that yes, I did this for my country, and I did this for uh, like my people, and I was happiest guy again.
Standing on the top of the bus with all the people out and about, man.
Yes.
Crazy pictures, crazy pictures. The best bit is when you were on the bus and it was driving down the main street and there was a guy. He had a carriage, two horses, and he's chasing the van and all this type of thing. Oh, it was fantastic, mate. Fantastic.
Let me tell you a quick story about that guy. So when I guess he heard that I was going to country, he drive with his horses like very far, and he was waiting for me in front of the airport, like, and then he was begging me, please come to my horses, come here, and then the people was around me, they don't let me go there, because they said it's not safety, because people will jump over you, because in the bus nobody was able to climb, but in the horses everybody will be like jump on me, and then when we was taking bus to like city, this guy was keep chasing me like so long, and I mean,
Mate, that would have been the immense homecoming. You riding the horses into the main city. That'd have been tremendous. You should have done that. You should have done that. Absolutely. Yeah. Listen, let's look ahead to the weekend. First title defense. Umar Nurmagomedov is the man that's going to be standing across from you. We've all seen the back and forth. Where does the dislike for Umar come from? How did it all originate?
Like I said, I always was respectful for the guy. When he signed to UFC, I was one of the first who said, "Congratulations, Umar! Welcome to UFC and welcome to my division." Uh, Even that time, I don't have an opponent. I was very welcome to like fight him. And after we met, of course, shake hands, and we always have a nice conversation. And then as a man, and then I was very respectful, as I respect every fighter, and we give each other respect. And so and and when I beat Peter Yan, I saw video, he was calling me out, and I feel disrespected disrespected because not disrespected, but I was like shocked, like because he only had, I think, 3 fights UFC or something, and I did came number one contender, and like why he's calling me out, like this is not like how it's working, I work so hard to get here, and then I don't want to go backward. The first was that was weird, but after that I met couple times him, and then always we have a good, you know, hello, and like nice conversation. And so after, I think before I came champion, or like he started disrespect me, like, and like talking trash about me. And when I came champion, Umar tweet about me, so many trash, and then so he mentioned I was paid champion, and then he mentioned also something bullshit expression, which is he say it's a Georgian expression, which is not Georgian expression. He even mentioned my country, and things like that. And and when I met him in the place, that I asked why you disrespect me, he said because I want. What are you gonna do about it? And then 30 minutes later in press conference, he regret and he said I never disrespect you. Um, and that was it, man. That's why I was mad at press conference. But now I move on. Now I'm focused of fight, and you guys will have a great fight, a great show, and I'm sure you guys all will enjoy with that.
We always enjoy watching you fight. You are observing you are an emotional guy. I love that you wear your heart on your sleeve and you fight like that. How important is it to keep your emotions in check when you're fighting at UFC 311?
Yeah, of course. You have to be professional. Like I said, I was fighting at the spear, and I was trying to not get distracted. And the same thing here. I'm sure Umar's fans will be crazy, and I have to be smart and don't get involved with them because oh, even when I was in Paris, in France, after my fight, week after, the Umar's fan tried to fight me. I don't know why, and then I was Aljamain Sterling's corner, and then Umar's fan tried to
I saw
provocate,
that.
yeah, provocate me, and the internet. I have to block like at least 200, 300 people every day. Umar's fans, like they've been very disrespectful. Just and then, so and I have to deal with this. But I'm still saying what I feel. I'm always speaking truth. I fought so many guys, and I had no beef with nobody except Peter Yan. And we all see how that fight go. So we're gonna see now against Umar. But don't get me wrong, it's gonna be tough fight. And yes, like you said, I have to make sure I have to be professional and don't distract.
Has your mentality changed now that you're champion compared to when you were chasing to be champion?
Nothing changed actually. I'm same guy, and yes, I'm a champion now. I have a belt, but I'm same guy. Of course, the my status changed for people and for everyone else, but I'm same guy. Nothing really changed.
It's been some journey, man. From looking for a fighter with Dana White to the champion of the world. Merab, congratulations on all your successes. And may there be many more successes coming your way in the not too distant future. Tell the people that are going to be tuning into this at UFC 311, how does this one go down, sir?
Yeah, thank you, and thank you everyone. Make sure watch UFC 311 on pay-per-view. It's gonna be great fights.
And the next homecoming, make sure you're riding the horse, yeah?
Okay.
Good man. Merab, have a wonderful fight week. Looking forward to the fight, mate. Take care.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Bye.
How can you not love that guy? What a guy. Merab Dvalishvili, champion at Bantamweight, taking on Umar Nurmagomedov. If you've been listening since the start of the show, you'll know that is number 5 in my top 5 fights to check out throughout the course of January, the co-main event at UFC 311. My next guest is ready. There's no point in waiting. We might as well get straight into this because I put this at number 2 on my list. The Finnish King, the Finnish Machine, 36 fights, 30 wins, 26 knockouts. If you want finishes, if you want violence, then what do? You put the signal in the sky and you call for a samurai. The one, the only, Jiri Prochazka. Welcome to the show, mate. How are you?
Hey, I'm great.
Listen, 36 fights. 30 wins, 26 knockouts. The man is a finishing machine. And I've no doubt that there is a finish on his mind this weekend. Am I right in saying that, Jiri?
That's right.
When we've spoken in the past, the thing that I always take away from our conversations is your thirst for knowledge, your thirst for learning, your thirst for growth and development, not just necessarily as a martial artist, but also as a human being. Off the back of last June and fighting Alex for the second time, what are the things that you learned about yourself, and what are the things that you have implemented in change, whether it be lifestyle, fighting style, whatever it may be, in order to bring to Saturday night?
You know, I learned a lot, especially when you lost with somebody on twice. So for me is right now like the most important to show the great performance, professional performance, and take a win. This is for me 100% like most important. But I don't want to speak about what I learned, what I had to work on, because all these things I want to show that this Saturday.
We've spoken in the past about life improvements as well, and how you obviously live the world of a martial artist, rather than it just be a job and you turn up to do it 9 to 5 and then obviously fight at the weekend. This is the way that you live your life. What things have you done away from the octagon, away from the training mats, in order to realign yourself ready for that win on Saturday?
Yeah, many things, like many challenges. What I had to done, and what I have to say, what I can say, it was the main trips, main camps in Japan, in all the October in Japan, and all November in Mexico City, and that was something what was like really essential for me, for my preparation. All these every these trips, because everywhere I'm looking for the energy of the country, the mountains, what they have of the nature, rivers, train there, feel the nature, the power of the nature, and to spend the time there with the fighters who's from that country, the best one.
Congratulations on your Kyokushin Karate black belt. I saw that you picked that up.
Thank you.
In October.
Yeah.
I mean, what a fantastic achievement, and also to be able to do that in Japan, the land of the samurais. That must have been some honor.
Yeah, it is. It is still. I feel it like a fresh. So I'm really glad for this opportunity, especially in Kagoshima, which is the like foundation of the Kyokushin Karate, where the founder Masutatsu Oyama made this Kyokushin alive. Yeah.
Have you done any of your sensory deprivation for this particular camp, or have you stayed away from that?
No. In this camp, I knew that I need just to work. I need just to work in the gym. Don't push myself to some like to don't go deeper to the spiritual things, and stay on the ground and just to work, just the hard work. Yeah.
You're a top contender, so 1 or 2 wins, you will be back fighting for the title by the end of the year.
Yes. Yeah. This is the plan. This is what I want now. This is what I want right now, and what I feel like there is a chance this year. So I just want to keep working because there is in myself there is a big passion for a movement, for a fighting, for the technique, to learn how to be better, but for improvement. And I just want to let me show you that. Let me show you that. Let me step in the cage and show you how good I am, and I can be on the top. This is it.
I'm looking forward to seeing what you do on Saturday night. Just to finish, Jiri, I just want to speak about the young lady who was going through chemotherapy for her cancer, who sent you her picture of the hair. I want just to get your thoughts on inspiring the fans around the world. Obviously, that lady's going through an incredible battle right now, but she finds strength from you and your attitude to what you're doing. How does that make you feel?
That made me feel like very honorable, like, and it's big respect for this warrior, because every people, they have their own fight, so respect them, respect their fights, and let's stay. Because I have foundation, so I want to help her, like foundation to help the people. So I decide like to help her with his fight, and I believe she will come to the weigh-in, maybe to the fight, enjoy that, and that will be pleasure for me. Yeah, because this is it. We are doing that for others, not just for ourselves, but I'm fighting for your enjoying, for enjoying of the people, because when you enjoy that, I enjoy that. And this is our way. Yeah.
Well, I definitely enjoy it. And that's brilliant to hear that the lady that you're referring to, I think she goes by the name of Butterfly 105 on social media, will be in attendance this weekend. That's awesome. Man.
Awesome. That's it.
Awesome. Listen, Jiri, I'm going to let you get on to Los Angeles. Safe trip. Enjoy fight week, my friend. You know that we enjoy watching you do your thing. Looking forward to Saturday night, man. Take care, buddy.
Thank you. Stay for that.
Belter. What a guy. Listen, the obviously we had a couple of, when people are in transit like that, you get a few signal problems, don't you, as things are going along. But hopefully you managed to catch everything that Jiri was saying there in our conversation. I absolutely love the way that guy leads his life, and you just want the very best things for him. I also want the very best things for the guy that he's facing at the weekend, Jamahal Hill, who's also a top guy. Both guys with big aspirations of getting back to the top of the light heavyweight division and getting a shot once again at Alex Pereira. May the best guy win on Saturday night. Before I move on to what's coming up on January 25th, just a couple of things to highlight. Of course, we have to talk about Renato Moicano. He is taking on Beneil Dariush on the main card at UFC 311. It's a brilliant, brilliant fight. The thing that is the shadow over the top of my head regarding this fight is Beneil Dariush's lack of activity. Obviously, he's coming off the back of 2 losses, but he didn't fight at all last year in 2024. He took some time off, took some rest. Maybe that will be a good thing. Who knows? We're only going to find out once that cage door shuts at UFC 311. The guy that he's facing, though, in Renato Moicano, Money Moicano, was really the star of 2024. He had 3 wins, 3 big wins as well. The activity was crucial. The last one in Paris against Benoit Saint-Denis, that was just brutal. When the doctor's got to step in and say, no more, no mas, you know that you've done your job. And Renato Moicano did a phenomenal job. This is a wonderful opportunity for him to really punch his ticket towards the top 5 of the division. It's a fight that you should absolutely keep an eye on. The reason why it didn't feature in my top 5 is just because I'm unsure about the competitive nature of the fight. Listen, we're talking about 2 elite guys, very elite guys. And if they're both on the top games, we're going to see a brilliant fight. I just think that inactivity might play against Beneil Dariush, and we might get some dominance from Renato Moicano. But only time will tell. This is martial arts. We'll find out on Saturday night. Kevin Holland as well, taking on Renier Derrida, completes the UFC 311 main card. It's going to be interesting to see if the Ridder can get Kevin Holland to the mat. His striking is very rudimentary. His grappling and jiu-jitsu is out of this world. But his striking is a little bit limited, and Kevin Holland should be able to navigate that fight. But again, we'll find out on Saturday night when that main card kicks off. A couple of other things to keep an eye on. We need a statement in the heavyweight division. We need the heavyweights to really kick on, don't we? We've got Almeida and Spivak, two grapple heavyweights. Hopefully they're going to deliver some knockout viral moments at UFC 311. So keep an eye out for that on the prelims, and also keep an eye out for a guy that I highlighted last year. I'm 12 months ahead of this. This is what you're going to get on this show, by the way. You're going to get information ahead of time. Everybody's jumping on the Peyton Talbot train now. Nah, man. I did it 12 months ago. Peyton Talbot's a star. 3 fights last year, 3 wins, 3 finishes. He did a bit in the Apex. He went to the big show and he delivered there as well. And he stays on the big show. He's on the prelims at UFC 311, taking on Raoni Barcelos. I tell you what, it's a brilliant piece of matchmaking. Barcelos is one of those fighters that when they turn up, they look brilliant, but they're also a little bit reckless, and therefore for the elite talents, they can take advantage of that. And I think genuinely Peyton Talbot is one of those elite talents. So keep an eye out for that fight on the UFC 311 prelims. Stacked top to bottom. There you go. That's all going on the 17th of January. Time to skip ahead to January 25th. And I'm going to be in attendance for this. I can't wait for this. I'm going out to Dubai for Umar Nurmagomedov and Paul Hughes, and the card underneath, which has got some good European talent, bit of Irish talent in there as well. John Boy Mitchell's on this card. And I'm looking forward to seeing how some of these fights do play out. I'm also looking forward to seeing how the PFL, that's no longer connected to Bellator, operates. So it should be a good card. And one man that can tell us a little bit more about that is this fella, former UFC welterweight world title challenger. Fought the great George St. Pierre, this fella. And he's now, of course, helping shape and mold the talent of young fighters in Europe on their own paths of destiny with the PFL, the head of talent for Europe, the one, the only, the main man himself, Mr. Dan Hardy. How are you, mate?
I'm really good, mate. Yeah, really good. Looking forward to getting 2025 started, and I feel like this is a good way to kick it off.
Mate, what a way to kick it off. Listen, PFL's cards, especially at the back end of the year with the Champions Night, where you were dishing out $1 million contracts for checks for fun, and we got some rising stars from Russia, and obviously Dakota had a wonderful night. It finished so well, and the question was always going to be, right, how do you keep that momentum going? Well, you keep the momentum going with a fight like this, don't you?
Yeah, exactly that. You know, I mean, obviously, you know, especially with UFC 311 as well, and, you know, Umar Nurmagomedov and Makhachev on that card as well. I mean, it's a busy time for that camp specifically. You know, we're going to be seeing Usman Nurmagomedov, you know, with his teammates while they're either defending or challenging for belts. I'm fascinated to see how Paul's going to approach this, because we know how good Usman is, and we know everyone's expecting the person with the Nurmagomedov name to keep the belt around their waist. So I think it's a big night for Paul Hughes, but he's got a lot of people to prove wrong. Yeah,
and he keeps doing that, doesn't he, mate? I mean, listen, you've been across his career all the way through, like with Cage Warriors and the fights that he had with Jordan Vucenic and Morgan Sherrier. Those fights are iconic now from a Cage Warriors point of view, and for the PFL to get their hands on him when there was loads of chat as to whether he was going to the UFC or what he was going to do when he did become available is a major coup. Now that he's hit the ground running, he does keep exceeding the expectation. I'm going to be dead honest. AJ McKee fight, I probably looked at that and thought maybe that's just a tiny stretch too far for him. But mate, he was absolutely fantastic. So he's a very hard guy to back against.
Yeah, you know, and you know as well as me, momentum and confidence in combat sports is a big part of the game. And going into that fight week with AJ McKee, like I did a face-off with them. You know, I sat them both down and we talked back and forth, and I even got the feeling that AJ was surprised at the confidence. It wasn't like bravado, right? It wasn't like overconfidence. He was very, very matter of fact. It was very stoic, you know, factual. There was no hyperbole in it at all. It was I'm here. It's my time. I'm going to knock you out. And I mean, he came very, very close a couple of times, but it was not only the way that he performed on the night, but it was all the way through his confidence at the press conference. He was he was the junior on the stage. When you look at everybody else, you've got Cyborg and Ngannou sitting up there, and then Paul Hughes at the end with his custom jacket, with the lining, with all of his photographs from his career. I mean, it just seems like it's his time. But at the same time, I say that, I go, well, I mean, who can stop the Nurmagomedov camp right now? Like, no one seems to be able to. I even think, as much as I love Merab, I feel like Umar Nurmagomedov might be taking another belt back to that camp. So, like, not only is Paul Hughes up against, the danger and the skills of Usman Nurmagomedov, but he's also contending with the momentum of that camp, which might cancel out his momentum and confidence as well. It's so fascinating because no common opponents or anything, and really don't know what Paul Hughes is fully capable of after seeing him step up to AJ like he did.
We get involved in these types of conversations where you're comparing fighters in one organization to the fighters that are obviously competing in the UFC. Now, I know that Usman and Islam are teammates, same weight division and all that. But Usman Nurmagomedov is absolutely in the conversation for a top 3, top 5, 155 right across the board, isn't he? He's just a sensational mixed martial artist. Just explain for people that don't know too much about what Abdul Manap and now Habib are creating with this camp. Why are they so good?
It's a very, very good question. It's something I've been digging into for a while. Obviously this last week, I've been preparing content for 311 as well. So I went back and watched the Makhachev Arman Tsarukyan fight, the first one. And I mean, obviously, I was on the call for that one, and I don't think anybody expected Usman, Arman Tsarukyan to be as competitive in the wrestling scrambles as he was. But the point of difference really was the fact that, like, Arman Tsarukyan's a great wrestler, but once he's got someone to the floor, the moment where they land, they don't have the same like top game control that the Nurmagomedov camp does, right? It's the fact, like, Abdul Manap seems to have taken the seams out of the game where you go from standing to hitting the ground, right? He goes, I've got a hold of you. Now I've got control of you until the fight's over. It's a process of control, which we don't see from a lot of other fighters. Like, I mean, you look at Daniel Cormier, and I think Daniel Cormier learned a few things from Abdul Manap as well. But like Daniel Cormier, like the big high amplitude takedowns, like you remember what he did to Dan Henderson and to Gustafsson, like he throws them 360. But the other thing that I notice about Cormier's game, which is very similar, is as they land, he is landing on top of them to control them. And a lot of the time, those wrestling scrambles, they get a bit chaotic. Whereas the Nurmagomedov camp and Makhachev obviously being the primary example right now, there's never a moment to breathe. They go straight. Like even in that first one against Arman Tsarukyan, he went foot sweep straight into mount.
That was unbelievable.
It was crazy.
I've never seen anything like that. The speed at which that he did that in the first round was incredible.
And it's like that's the thing is, like, you take judo, for example, and judo gets chaotic as soon as they're in the air because they don't really need to land in a position of control. You know what I mean? And you can see that there's a lot of like foot sweeps and trips that Makhachev does that lead into a control position. And for me, that's the difference. They've taken the seams out of MMA. All the joins where we go, right, I'm a striker, now I've got takedown defense, now I'm grappling. Like that was the way that my game was built, because you kind of take pieces from wherever you can. But that is a comprehensive style that has been developed, with a small team of very, very competitive fighters that have got a real diverse skill set. Wushu, Sanda, Sambo wrestling. There's a lot of different elements that go into that. But Abdul Manap and obviously now what Khabib's doing, they've defined a new approach to MMA grappling. And I think that's what we're seeing dominate right now.
One of the big criticisms, I suppose, of when Khabib was so dominant, if there is any criticism, which is ridiculous of me to say, is that maybe the striking was behind his grappling. You can't necessarily say that now about Makhachev and Usman, because it just, as you just rightfully said, it just seems like it is just mixed martial arts all blended into one, and the striking is absolutely up to speed with the grappling.
Yeah, I agree. And you look at the stats of Khabib when he was fighting compared to Islam when he was fighting, and it's interesting. I mean, it's all on UFC stats. You go, well, Khabib had a higher output of takedowns, but Makhachev's got a better success rate. He's also got better control. You know what I mean? So it's almost like Makhachev is like the slightly more refined, better version of Khabib. You know, which is interesting to say, given the fact that Khabib was so good. But I also agree with you. You know, that obviously the difference is Makhachev's got that one knockout loss on his record. But for me, that was a real turning point for him. It was his realization that, you know, that there is a range where he could be challenged, and there is a skill set that could be improved to be more competitive at that range. You know, and you fast forward to his fight against Charles Oliveira and that right hook that put him on the canvas. That's just a new level of Makhachev now. And I feel like that loss was a benefit to him. It's made him a better version of what that camp expresses.
Which one do you think is slightly better, Islam or Usman in this division?
That is a fascinating question.
Can you imagine that as a fight? Do you want to see it?
I would just love to watch them train together. I'd love to watch them spar, you know, because I think they've got very different skill sets. Like, you know, Usman's very good at switching his stances. He's much looser with his legs. He seems much more relaxed and fluid with his striking. More of a preference to strike than Makhachev does. Whereas it's like Makhachev is, you know, he's got that dominant wrestling game, but now he's brought his striking up. It's like he's got the choice that he can strike if he wants to, but ultimately, you know, his wrestling will get the fights won. I feel right now, if we saw them compete, that Makhachev might just be just a touch further ahead of him, and I think that might be partly down to the competition that Makhachev's been up against. You know, like even the competition that Makhachev's faced compared to Khabib, I would say that's another reason why Makhachev is just a little bit ahead of everybody right now, is because he's been through the ringer, not only in the gym, but also in the cage.
Listen, we've gone all in on the main event. Everybody knows that the main event's going to be a cracker. What else is standing out on the card for you, mate? What should people be paying attention to?
Well, I mean, I'll be honest, the co-main event I find fascinating. The reason being, obviously, is because Nemkov's getting a lot of heat because there was the whole Corey Anderson thing, and I don't know the details around that. You know, I'm not involved in the matchmaking on this card, so I don't know what conversations were had or anything. But what I do know is that Tim Johnson had one of the most entertaining finishers last year in the regular season that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he caught Marquez on the chin with a massive punch as he was taking a groin shot. They both went down like Marquez is like dancing around like he's like someone stole his legs. Tim Johnson's on the floor clinging onto his junk because he's taken a really, really bad groin shot. And then he gets up and puts it was just one of those fights you're like, this feels like old school UFC. It feels like Travis Brown versus Andrei Arlovsky. It feels like some chaos is going to happen. You know, Frank Mir, Todd Duffy. It was one of those kind of feelings. And Tim Johnson against Nemkov, like Nemkov's the technician, right? He's sharp, he's technical, trained by Fedor. Then you got Tim Johnson, who's just a truck driver. You know, he drives cattle across the country, and you know what I mean? He's just a different kind of animal. But then when you put him in there and he knows he can land a shot on someone's chin, doesn't matter whether they've got abs or not. Tim Johnson can put them away. So I'm interested in that one. And, you know, we've got a couple of interesting ones lower down the card. John Mitchell on the card, Hyder Khan on the card as well. Lots of interesting things to look forward to. I'm excited to get out there. Yeah,
great that John Mitchell's getting an opportunity on this card as well. I'm a big fan of Nathan Kelly taking on Ahmed Magomedov. That should be a cracking fight as well on the main card, mate. It's stacked. It's stacked from top to bottom. It's Dubai. It's January. The sun will be out after the winter blizzards, and we've got absolute flames inside the smart cage as well, mate. All good things. Looking like it is going to be all good things for 2025 inside the PFL.
And one other thing I will say, and I'll poke a little bit of fun at the PFL global team, but like PFL Europe set the standard the last couple of years, you know what I mean? With Dakota, with McGrillen, with the performances that we had, Doumbé events, etc., etc.
Yeah,
I almost feel like PFL Europe has been a catalyst for change and growth across PFL generally. And I think we're going to start to see a lot more of that in 2025 and certainly 2026. So things are moving forward. You've got to bear with us a little bit. It's a bit confusing at the moment, but once we've got our momentum back behind us for this year, I feel confident that we're gonna create something that the MMA world really needs.
When you anticipating a UK show, mate?
April. I would like an April UK show. I don't really want to leave it too later than that. I want to make sure that these guys are getting some activity. But yeah, April, March is always good for me. I like a March show, you know, a couple of months into the year. That's a good time to be ready. But I think it might be April for the first one, but we'll have some confirmations for you guys soon.
There you go. Dan Hardy likes his violence in March, in and around Easter. Good lad. Mate, looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Dubai next week. No doubt we'll have a bit of a catch up, and these fights are going to absolutely deliver, no doubt. Top man, Dan, thanks for being on the show, buddy.
Thank you, mate. I'll see you in Dubai.
Awesome. The best analyst in the game. No doubt about that, and I'm sure you agree. He sees things about 5 minutes before it actually happens. The patterns that he picks up on during fights. Top class. If you ever get the opportunity to sit next to Dan Hardy whilst there's a fight going on and he's just talking you through it, some experience, some learning experience as well. Top stuff. Thank you to him for joining the show. And as I said, January 25th, Coca-Cola Arena in Dubai, the PFL Rock Up, and it's all about Umar Nurmagomedov and Paul Hughes. Listen, as Dan was alluding to there, Paul's a big underdog. Everybody knows he's a big underdog, but he called for this fight. He's got an unbelievable amount of belief in himself, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. If he turns up and he believes it, as the great Michael Bisping says, you can achieve it. So we'll see come January 25th. Now, as I said at the start of the show, slightly cheating here, because I'm going to preview a show that's coming up in Saudi Arabia on February the 1st. I know this is the January show, but I thought with it being a January 1st event, I wanted to give it a little bit of I wanted to give it a little bit of time to breathe and for you to digest it and to get as excited about it as I am, because the card is absolutely brilliant. Israel Adesanya taking on Nassourdine Imavov. Huge fight. And the co-main event, as I said right at the start of the show, is on my top 5 fights to keep an eye on this month, this next 3 weeks, as Shara Bullet takes on our very own MVP. And it is an absolute delight to be able to welcome the former new middleweight now, of course, to the show. He's ready to rock and roll. Just had a day in the gym. I could tell. You can't see him right now, but I could tell. Sat on his couch at home, just had a day in the gym, grafting away, getting ready for Saudi Arabia, getting ready for February 1st, getting ready for a show down at middleweight. Here he is. Michael Venom Page, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Obviously, like you say, just in preparation to going over to Saudi. So I'm looking forward to it.
What's this I'm hearing about you getting married, my friend? What's going on here? Eh?
Yes,
this is MVP 2.0.
Yeah, this definitely is. Definitely is. Like I said, I think to keep it very simple, when you find the right person, we haven't even. It's weird because we haven't even. I always find I'm doing a disservice when people ask how long we've been together, because it's been like just over a year now, but it feels like I've known her forever. It feels like, it just doesn't feel like this is the first time we've met. It just flows so well. We communicate very, very well, and it's just seamless. It's just very easy. And like I said, when you know. So for me, it was just like, this is it's important to move to the next stage. Our families connect weirdly as well. Like it's just been beautiful from start to finish. So I'm looking forward to the next stage.
Mate, you know what Beyonce said. Stick a. You got to put the ring on it, man. You can't be letting them run away. When you find a good one, you've got to grab it. So congratulations anyway to you two. And
exactly that.
I'm sure some
that.
great times
exactly
ahead.
That.
Obviously, incredibly exciting times ahead personally. Exciting times ahead professionally as well. And in the preparation for this, I don't know whether this was a conscious decision that you decided to do this in the build-up to this particular fight, but taking on a little bit of Polaris as well, having a roll around with Mr. Carlos Condit. How did that one come about?
To be fair, I've been considering, and for a little while, it's just always hectic, and because things just seem to, fights and opportunities for fights keep popping up quite quickly, so it's hard to want to take time off. But I've been saying to myself for a little while, I want to take some time off and solely focus on jiu-jitsu. But like I say, things just keep jumping in opportunity-wise, professionally, and it's like, you know what? Yeah, let me just focus on that. And it's difficult to take that time off. But after the last fight with Ian Gary, I was like, no, I'm 100% doing it now. So it wasn't. I didn't actually have Polaris in mind, but I was speaking to a friend of mine that he does jiu-jitsu himself, really really good, Chris Osbeck, and he was good friends with one of the matchmakers in Polaris. And when I was talking to him about just focusing on jiu-jitsu, he was like, "Oh, would you be interested in doing fighting on Polaris? There's one coming up." And he he spoke to the matchmaker. He said, "Oh, that would be amazing." They threw a few names forward, and then he finally like confirmed with Carlos Condit. And then I was just like, "Yeah, let's go." It just made sense as well. Having something to aim towards makes it a little bit makes you want to train that little bit harder as well. Jiu-jitsu is quite a chilled sport, so everyone's got, like the Brazilian kind of surfer life. But when you've actually got a goal in mind, it makes you want to really knuckle down.
You said off the back of the Ian Gary fight inspired that. What are the reflections from it? Because as a fan observing, it's super super close, and it's a game of inches. So what are your reflections on that fight?
It was more. I always like to focus solely on myself. I wasn't happy with the decisions made during the jiu-jitsu interactions in that fight. And what was annoying is if you're watching me in the gym, I'm not making those decisions. And I think I've seen this time and time again with many different fighters in our gym and other gyms, and I've heard the similar stories where there's that one guy in the gym that's exceptional in the gym and they can't seem to kind of do it under the lights. And I feel like that's me, but with my jiu-jitsu, I wasn't able to kind of do it the way I do it in the gym under the lights. So this is why I wanted to kind of like, okay, let me focus a bit more on that. So I'm a little bit more in flow state in that area as well, where I know when it comes to the striking, I could do that with my eyes closed. But with the grappling, I was still a little bit too conscious, which is slow decision making. So I'm like, okay, yeah, we're here now. I need to do this, and you can't be like that, when you're fighting this top end guys. So, like I said, this is the reason why I wanted to focus on it. But then after that, the fact that, like you said, it was such a close fight. If I had made all my decisions during the jiu-jitsu transactions, if they were better, I would have won that fight comfortably. So for me, it was like, okay, let's just focus on this now. He just kind of put in my mind what I already knew, and it just allowed me to kind of really kick me to go and actually focus on the jiu-jitsu. And I'm still doing a lot of jiu-jitsu now. Even it's so weird, the shift, because even though now I'm fighting a striker, my jiu-jitsu interactions, again, I know it's in the gym, but it just feels 10 times better in the gym. So I'm hoping that, again, it still reflects again across when I go to the fight. But yeah, something has shifted. I'm still doing a lot of jiu-jitsu and still working on my ground and enjoying it as well. So I'm hoping to be able to display that, not necessarily this fight, but just in the next few fights.
For people tuning into this that aren't aware of the result of the Polaris fight, Mike won it. Yeah, that's right. Carlos Condit's got a very good ground game.
Very good.
The ground game is coming on, man. It's all flowing in nicely together. That's good.
Yeah.
Now,
definitely.
I want to talk to you about weight, because we're having a go at middleweight right now. Now, listen, we've just been speaking, obviously, about a lifestyle change, and you found yourself a lovely lady. All right. Now, this is, Mike, you can admit it if you want, man, because this happened to me when I got married, right? My missus is a good cook. So when she's putting that food on that table, you know what I mean? You don't want to be turning it down. Now, is this what's happening down at MVP Towers? The food's flowing. You're enjoying yourself. You think to yourself, 170 is a push, bro. So I'm just gonna give myself an extra 15. Why not, eh?
No, to be fair, and I'm thankful as well, because my missus is very health conscious. She's into sport, fitness herself. Sorry.
Cool.
So, even when she's cooking and she can cook really well, it's is based around health, so I can't get away with crap. So she actually helps me with regards to, you know, making weight. It wouldn't actually be a difficult thing. So no, it was purely opportunistic.
Okay.
Shara called out after his last fight, spectacular finish, double spinning back fist. After his last fight, he called out Izzy, and I just happened to come across it, and I was like, nah, man, like I'd take that fight, you know. And I just thought, you know, I'm just gonna mention it on the next interview I have, and I mentioned a couple of interviews, and it came out. So I got a phone call from Hunter, as he's like, "Are you being serious about this?" I was like, "Yeah." Like at the time, I was taking a Carlos Condit at middleweight because of the time. If I didn't want to stress myself out to do a jiu-jitsu fight, so I was like, "Yeah, middleweight's fine." I usually sit like around that weight anyway. And then this happened, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm already at that weight, so let's run that fight as well." And he was happy with that. So yeah, now we're here. So yeah, to be fair, I've still got some goals that I want to achieve, some fights that I want to have at welterweight. So I'm not done there at all. Yes, it is a bit more difficult as you're getting older, but it's at the same time, I've never really. It's a stressful thing to do for anybody, but I've never really struggled to actually make 170. So I'm not. I haven't left as just yet.
The man's looking to get ranked in 2 divisions. I see what you're doing. You know what I mean? You're just getting greedy. You're just getting
100%.
greedy.
Anywhere the fight's good, let's go.
What are the challenges that Shara brings you on February the 1st?
He's an exceptional striker. He's obviously naturally going to be a bit heavier. I don't think he's a massive middleweight, which helps, but he's naturally going to be a bit heavier, which means maybe even his power. Because even at that weight is still, people still move quite swiftly, you know. But then he's carrying those few extra kgs, which means those punches, those kicks are going to be a little bit more weighty. But when it comes to striking, I don't fear no man. When it comes to striking, if you're whatever weight it is, I feel very comfortable, and I feel he is predominantly gonna strike. Where it is gonna be more of a test is when you're grabbing someone, if they're naturally a bit heavier than you and they're of equal skill, you know, that's gonna play a bigger advantage. But throwing punches and kicks for me, you know, I don't care. It's, you know, I'll go up against absolutely anybody. And because it seems like he is going to be more confident and more focused on striking. Because looking at his jiu-jitsu, it doesn't seem like he's exceptional in that area, and I feel like I could destroy him there anyway. So I think he is going to predominantly want to strike with me, and that makes for a good match for me.
Makes for a good match for us all, mate. Let's be honest. That's exactly what we all want, isn't it? Listening to you speak today and listening to you talk about the things that you've learned, the things that you're developing, the things that you're trying to obviously still grow, I don't think we've seen the best of MVP just yet, have we?
Not in the slightest. It's interesting because, you know, again, a lot of people mention my age and stuff, but I always say, like, if people could have a camera and get to see what I'm doing to the young bucks and the young up and comers and the absolute amazing talents, and you know, when I'm having spars and I'm crossing going up to other people's camps and people are coming from their camps to my camp, and when we're sparring, you age is not an issue at all. But yeah, I think some of my best fights were, you know, are quite old now, but in the UFC, I'm yet to show that guy, and he's still there. He's still there with a few more exciting things in store, a lot more knowledge, a lot more experience. So yeah, there's a lot more to show, a lot more to come.
Michael, thank you so much for your time, man. You're always so accommodating. Stay fit, stay healthy. Blessings to you and your loved ones, because everything sounds like it's awesome at the moment.
Yes.
And on
definitely.
February the 1st, we're looking forward to see you do your thing once again, mate. Take care.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you. Take care.
So there you have it. Superb. Michael Venom Page in good spirits ahead of his fight with Shara Bullet. Big life-changing things going on away from the octagon that, who knows, might have a major effect for the positive with the performances that are going on inside the octagon. We'll find out on February the 1st on that one. The main event of that one is obviously Israel Adesanya and Nassourdine Imavov, which is a fantastic fight with big ramifications for that division. We know kind of how that division's going to float out, because in February, we're going to be previewing the title fight, of course, at UFC 312, with Dricus du Plessis and Sean Strickland go at it again. You think that Khamzat Chimaev is in the wings, waiting for that title fight? Absolutely. Where are the other contenders coming from? Listen, Robert Whittaker's still in this game. There's no doubt about it. I know that Khamzat took care of him in devastating fashion last year, but he's absolutely still in this game. Israel Adesanya is still in this game. So if he can get a win against a rising contender like Nassourdine Imavov, he's back in the conversation. But we've also got Shorter Bullet. Michael Venom Page now playing at middleweight. The division is red hot. It's going to be interesting to see how all this now plays out. And it all seems to be in line as well with the title fight, which is taking place at UFC 312. But we'll preview that next month. We're getting ahead of ourselves, aren't we? We're getting ahead of ourselves. Just a quick one on the Saudi Arabian card. Keep an eye out for Faraz Ziam and Mike Davis. I'm a big fan of Faraz Ziam. I think he's a fantastic fighter. That's a fight that you definitely need to check out. And everybody loves heavyweights, especially heavyweights that have got some serious power in the hands. How does Pavlovich bounce back? Let's see what's what. Let's see what's what. Obviously, we saw him against Tom Aspinall. We've seen him against Volkov. This is a big night for Sergey Pavlovich. He needs to deliver. And Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who is also a big hitting kickboxer, could be tailor-made for him. He needs a viral moment just to reignite that interest in the heavyweight division. Anyway, you've heard me prattle on for long enough now. Hopefully you've enjoyed the month of January's preview for the MMA. Did a bit of UFC, crossed over to the PFL, and then went back to the UFC. Of course, coming up in February, we will be talking about UFC 312. And then as we head towards March for British fight fans, of course, yes, we'll be previewing the big Vegas card, which has got a rumour to have Justin Gaethje and Dan Hooker on it. But then you've also got Leon Edwards and Jack Della Maddalena rumoured to be the main events for March 22nd in London. So the March show will be stacked from top to bottom. Hopefully you've enjoyed the show. If you have, as I said right at the top, let's not make this the last time that we ever speak. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Once a month, I'm going to be here just previewing stuff, speaking to some of the stars of the fight game, and getting you closer to the action. I'll also give you a bit of a review of the month as well, a little bit of a synopsis of all the big things that did happen, just in case you missed any of it and you want to go back and have a little bit of a look. For example, the Cesar Almeida knockout. I keep talking about it from the Apex on January the 11th, which is an absolute cracker. But I'll put all that in the review show come the end of the month. And that is going to be the way that we are going to be going forward on this channel. Might even sprinkle in some feature-length interviews as well over the year. Who knows? Start of a beautiful relationship, isn't it? Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you next time.